Hello chess lovers, I have a mind-blowing game for you played by Yifan against Bf4. The game was played at Trade-Wise Gibraltar 2017. Bf4 started with d4 and knight f6 by Yifan, knight f3, b6, bishop f4. White is going for this London system type setup, bishop b7, e3, g6. Yifan is going to flank our second bishop h3, securing this h2 square for the bishop, bishop g7, bishop e2, d6, c4, knight d7, knight c3. We see castling by both sides, e6. Yifan is setting up a very interesting pawn structure which looks of course very solid. Queen c2, knight h5, and once the bishop retreats on h2 square, Yifan is pushing the f pawn f5. d5, e5. White managed to take under control this e6 square, and now white will try to bring the knight on e6 square. But first, white is playing g4, and after f takes g4, h takes g4, knight f6. Once the knight is blocking the queen's path, Bf4 plays knight g5 with the idea of knight e6. But in this position, Yifan came up with a dazzling idea. Instead of playing something like knight c5, which looks a very standard move, she played knight takes d5. Now if c takes d5, then black can simply capture on g5. That's why white is playing knight e6, and the logical continuation of this knight takes d5 move, knight takes c3. Can you imagine? She's sacrificing her queen. Knight takes d8, knight takes e2 check, queen takes e2, bishop f3, another division took. Black is not hurrying to capture on d8, because if a move like rook d8, then white can play f3, later if needed e4, blocking the bishop's path. That's why she's first playing bishop f3, making her pieces as active as possible. And after queen d3, again she's not capturing on d8, but first knight c5, activating the knight as well, and only after queen a3 she captures on d8. Now if we have a look at the position, Yifan has only two pieces and a pawn against the queen. But let's see, is this enough to convert into a decisive advantage? e4, an interesting decision by white. Now if bishop takes e4, then white can first play b4, kick away the knight, and then rook e1. Suddenly white is somehow managing to activate his pieces. But after e4, Yifan decided not to hurry and capture one of these pieces. She first played rook f8, strengthening the bishop on f3 square, rook e1. Now comes the second bishop, bishop h6. This bishop is now controlling the c1 h6 diagonal, b4, knight e6, c5. White is trying to create some counterplay, knight d4. Look how active are black's minor pieces. Queen d3, b5, bishop g3, bishop g5, not even allowing any bishop h4 moves. Black wants to keep white pieces as passive as possible. a4, a6, queen a3, and bishop takes g4. Finally, Yifan is winning one of the pawns. Rook d1, knight f3 check. This is very interesting. She doesn't even want to capture the rook. This bishop she evaluates more than a rook. Now we see knight f3 check, king g2, d takes c5, b takes c5, h5. This pawn is going to play a very important role in the game. Queen a2 check, king h7, queen d5, rook e8, queen c6, rook e7. Black will now consolidate her position, h4. There it goes. Bishop h2, b takes a4, queen takes a4, king h6, bringing the king onto a safer square. Queen a3, rook f7, queen b2. Looks like white has no definite idea how to proceed with the game. Meanwhile, black is putting more and more pressure on white's position. Rook e7, c6, a5, rook b3, king g7. Yifan is still making waiting moves, and it was in here that white made a fatal mistake and played rook b5. It was better to place the king on h1 square on a safer square, because white needs this rook on the third rank as a defensive resource, but after rook b5 suddenly white's position is collapsing. Here comes h3 check, king h1, and now black is simply capturing on h2. Now white can't recapture because after bishop f4 check, king g1, bishop f3, this pawn is becoming unstoppable and white king can get checkmated. After knight takes h2, we see rook takes e5. Now white is threatening some discovered checks. Bishop f3 check, king g1, and knight takes f1. Yifan is not afraid of this discovered check. Rook takes e7, double check, king h6. Queen g7 check, king h5, but actually black king is in safety. Queen h7 check, king g4. Rook e8, and Yifan simply captures on e8. Queen d7 check, king h1. Now if queen takes e8, then simply h2 check, and again white king is getting checkmated. That's why we see king takes f1, but now comes rook d8 with another very dangerous threat. Queen h7 check, king g4, and finally Borja either resigned. Right now black is threatening checkmate in 1, and if we move like queen d7 check, then simply rook takes d7 followed by h2, and again white king is getting checkmated. What a game! Who else can go for such a dazzling queen sacrifice? Who? Only Yifan. If you enjoyed this mind-blowing queen sacrifice by the queen of chess, don't forget to give the thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. More games are coming. Good luck.